All right, we're back and we're still talking about communication, module 2, 2.2, and we're looking at things that contribute to communication breakdown. Communication breakdown is what causes the infighting, the estrangement, the issues in family. So it's important to be able to identify those things so that you can combat those things and so that you can protect the unity of your family, the peace of your family, and your legacy, in your health, because stress impairs your health, your mental health, your relational health, your spiritual health, everything. So let's take a look at, let's draw in, our lenses and look at the 6 things. And I'm sure there's more, but we want to be specific this morning and look at 6 things that contribute to communication breakdown and the unity factor. Silence, silencios, aggression, invalidation, people pleasing. Yeah, you think that wouldn't, but people pleasing, emotional flooding, and faulty cognitive filters. The way you think, your paradigms in your mind, your core beliefs. So when we look at the silent killer, we talked about how we build with communication. So if we're not communicating, we're not growing together. And if you're not growing together, that means you're dying. You can grow apart in silence, but you can't grow together. And when there is silence in relationships, the relationship die. You know, people think that arguing is unhealthy. In a sense, it is unhealthy, but it is healthy because you are taking the initiative to at least try to fix it. When couples and families get to the point where they are silent, that is a red flag. And sometimes they think, oh, I'm just being silent to keep the peace because I'm tired of arguing, or I'm being silent because you don't listen to me. But silence is deadly. Silence means that there is a lack of connection and there is no building transpiring. And in order to walk in unity, in order to have unity, there has to be connection through communication. Connection happens through communication. And it's like the law of entropy. If there's silence and there's no communication and you're not talking about what you need, what you want, what your dreams are, the relationships begins to erode. It begins to just take the form of chaos and take the form of withering and takes the form of just not being alive. It withers away. Everything that's not cared for withers away. If you don't take care of something, the law of entropy tells us that it just creates more chaos and more decay. So if you're not talking and you're silent, you are agreeing to let your relationship die. Silence is a killer. And then what silence does is it is used as an emotional charades, I call it. You might be wondering, what is emotional charades? You know the game charades where the person has to guess the word and you don't tell them? Well, in silence, it's very immature because you're not verbalizing what you need, what you want, what bothers you, and what you like. And it's fantasy. You're hoping that someone will begin to decode your silence and begin to hear what you're not saying. And that doesn't work in a relationship. And a lot of people won't play emotional charades, and a lot of people are not good at emotional charades. So it's ineffective. That causes the breakdown. It causes the breakdown. Silence causes breakdown because when you're not speaking, then you're leaving people to social media quotes. You're leaving people to their fears and their imaginations of being abandoned, of you not accepting them. If you don't speak, society, the person's pain and history will speak for them, or the enemy will speak for them, for you, I should say. So you want to be careful that silence is a relationship killer, and it causes family breakdown. Not speaking, the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So there's something that happens if you're not communicating, you're not connecting. I just want to drive that point home. You need to watch that in your families. You need to watch that with the people in your church. You need to watch that with the people that you're coaching or working with. That is a red flag, and you need to help them to know that by choosing not to communicate, you are choosing not to connect. You may be emotionally flooded, but you are choosing to disconnect. And that disconnection creates a gap. And then the gap grows bigger and bigger. The more silent you are, the bigger the gap. And before long, there's a river between you and your loved ones, and you're wondering why the person seems so far away, because you've both grown in different directions. Communication allows you to grow in the direction of togetherness. Aggressive communication causes breakdown in the family. John Gottman talks about the 4 horsemen, and the 4 horsemen that he talks about are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. These are all aggressive styles of communication that will erode the fabric of the unity of a family and of a unit. And with criticism, what that looks like is that you never have anything good to say. You find the wrong in everything that's done. And not only do you find the wrong, but you make people wrong. You tell people who they are. You assault their character. You criticize their intellect. You criticize their creativity. You criticize their parenting skills. You criticize their financial decisions. You criticize them. That is the biting that takes place. And then contempt. Contempt is another element of the 4 horsemen that destroy the unity of the family. And contempt is that undergird of, I don't like you. I don't like you. You know, I've heard people say, I love you, but I don't like you. And what that is, and looking at that, is so harmful, because you're saying you don't like someone's essence. You don't like their expression of uniqueness, their thoughts, their behavior, and their characteristics. And that can be interpreted as, you don't like the totality of me. And people can feel when you don't like them. And I get it. Sometimes just because you don't approve of someone's behavior, in totality, you can still love them and like them, And so that contempt is dislike, and it also can be just annoyance, or you get on my nerves, or you bother me. And a lot of times that attitude is portrayed towards children and spouses. And that becomes the mood of people operating in a system where no one likes anyone, but you still hang out, you still attend functions, and you still have a pseudo family connection, but there's so much contempt. There's so much of, I don't like you, and who you are, and you're a horrible person. And that contempt eventually will just break down the unity of a family. Because if you don't like me, then you have rejected me. And rejection means I'm going to withdraw, or you're going to kick me out of the system because I'm not good enough, or because I'm not pleasing you. So that contempt, it sets up, and it destroys every relationship. And then there's defensiveness. And defensiveness is dangerous because it makes you on the counterattack. You become a person who retaliates. You hear things negatively through your filters, and you take everything personally, and now you're just defensive. And if they say, no, don't bring potato salad this time, Sarah's going to make it. Now they don't like my food. They don't appreciate me. Everything is taken negatively, and you're paranoid, and you feel like their family's out to get you, and you feel like people are judging you. And so as a result, you're on the counterattack. If anyone says anything, you snap back, and you feel like you have to attack someone because you feel attacked. And so you're just always in fight mode, and you're always in the conflict mode. You bring the conflict because you feel like people are always attacking you. And then there's stonewalling. And this is so powerful because stonewalling means that you just end the conversation, you end communication, or you shut down. You can be there with someone, and if you stonewall them, that means you emotionally leave the room. You turn the light off. You turn the switch off. Like the la 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 la. Emotional walls. I don't hear you, and you check out. If you check out, it can be felt, and it is impacting, and it shows people that they're not worth resolving conflict with, and that they can't trust you to stay and to build with them, and that if things don't go your way, you're going to cut them off. So stonewalling is an enemy of unity, and it creates breakdown. So we want to be careful. And then there is the invalidation piece. We talked about it. We're going to go through each of these. But then there's the invalidation. And validation is so important in psychology. People get it wrong. We think that validation is permission, like I need you to affirm me. Affirming in that sense is different from validation in the psychological perspective, because validation just means I see your person, I hear your person, and I understand your person. I don't have to agree to just allow you to be present and to recognize the essence of you. And when you don't recognize that a person has thoughts, feelings, desires, even if they're off the wall, in your opinion, then you have made the person invisible. And that causes a disconnection. It's like, why speak if you don't hear me? Why show up if you don't see me? Why explain if you don't understand me? So that causes the withdrawal because of the invalidation. And then there's the people pleasing. Oh, you might think, well, how can that cause breakdown? Because you're always going to be satisfied with someone who says, whatever you like. What do you want for dinner? What do you want to cook for the barbecue? And they just, yeah, whatever you guys want, whatever you want me to bring. Yeah, I'll watch the kids. Yeah, I'll clean up afterwards. I'll do whatever I'll run to the store 500 times. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And you do it. There's one thing to do it because you're helpful, but then there's another thing to do it because you're a people pleaser and you're afraid to assert what you need and want, because you feel like your role and the reason people like you is because you serve everyone. So you become the people pleaser, and that causes the breakdown because eventually you're going to burn out. Usually the people pleasers are the ones who are codependent. And so that causes them to communicate falsely. They fear rejection, they fear abandonment, they fear conflict, they have a history of PTSD or complex trauma. So that has to do with relationship trauma where people may abandon them, abuse them. And so now they can't communicate, and because they're too afraid, and that causes the breakdown in the family.